My guest is Ruedi Beglinger, who is the subject of a documentary called A Life Ascending. And Ruedi, for the last almost 20 years, has had a business at the Selkirk Mountain Experience in British Columbia, basically taking. Ruedi, would you say risk takers? I mean, as I said, if I had just paid, $2,500 to come up, and you said, okay, here's how you get out of an avalanche, and here's how you do CPR, and here's where the radio signals so they can find your body parts are. I mean, I'd be out of there. So, it's one thing for you; it's your job, and you've done this your whole life. But are these lunatics who come to you?
I don't think they are lunatics. In fact, lots of people they go skiing in the backcountry in powder snow or an uncontrolled environment. They just like to be in the mountains. They like skiing. They like powder snow, and many of them hire a guide to be safer. And the guide, as I said earlier, he cannot make your trip 100% safe, but he can make it a lot safer than if you would do it by yourself. The risk factor of skiing in deep powder snow, there is a risk factor, but there is also a risk factor if I go sailing at the high sea or jump into a kayak and go down a big river or whatever. And I think this is what people like, and I think it is in our nature of humans to explore our life and find our boundaries, but also, enjoy some great adventures.
Do you do you have a sense of what went wrong that day in 2003?
It's difficult to say. I think it was a incredible isolated avalanche situation. Considering what we noticed before the avalanche went down, the entire ground was vibrating. There was a lot of energy in the air for about 10 seconds before the avalanche actually triggered. It probably was a very isolated situation, and there are people, they said, somehow I just stepped on the needle on the haystack, and it was difficult to really understand why this avalanche went. And normally in avalanches, if there is an accident somewhere or even just a natural avalanche event, you can tell very quickly why this avalanche went. And this one here, I know the investigation team, they went out there, they checked out the avalanche. In the evening, they came back and they interviewed me again and said, okay, we can't figure it out. Can you tell us once more what exactly happened? And then they went out again. So there are very isolated situations, that lead to accidents.
Needle in haystack. How long did it take you before you could take another group out?
I think every person is different. I think it would be a little bit careless towards myself, and of course a moral viewpoint towards other people. If I would just say, okay, this happened, I'm going guiding tomorrow again, I think this would be ridiculous. But on the other side, it would be also, at least for me, it would be wrong to say, you know what, I had this accident, I'm never going back in the mountains again. For me personally, it was important to understand the accident, and at that point, it took me quite a few days. I didn't sleep, and I just was working with myself, and it was like watching a movie. And if I didn't understand the clip, I rewinded it and watched it again, rewinded it and watched it again until I felt, okay, I think I understand what happened out there and why it happened, or, did I make a big mistake, or is this really an isolated avalanche? There was just nothing I was able to do.
All right, now,
to avoid it.
Let me put you on hold. When we come back, I want you to sort of give people the sense of how, and maybe you've already done that. Watching the movie, watching how really devastated you were, it becomes quite obvious that this was not something that you were cavalier about. But how people come back, how do you find that line between responsibility and being able to go on? All right, let me put you on hold. We'll come back, and you'll get the final word here, Ruedi. 800-544-7070. We're talking with Ruedi Beglinger, who is the subject of a documentary called A Life Ascending. How do you recover from a situation in which lives are lost? 800-544-7070. I'm Dr. Joy Browne. Ruedi, most people don't have quite as adventurous a lifestyle as you do, but there are people who've been in driving cars where people have been injured or killed, or they've been on vacation. And so what advice would you give them about overcoming that kind of sense of responsibility and guilt and getting on with their lives?
Yeah, I think any tragedy you get involved in is probably the worst thing ever. And I think it's very difficult to get over any of these moments unless you start to understand what really was going on, what happened.
I think you're exactly right. I think, as you say, replaying the tape makes all the difference in the world. Ruedi, thanks so much for being with us. I'm Dr. Joy Browne.